Christopher, and we are back with a new video. I've missed you guys so much. I feel like I haven't done a video in forever. I mean, it has been about a month, so with my schedule, hopefully now we'll be able to get new videos out a little bit quicker for you. And this card is what we'll be making today. And I put on, you're going to see a couple of shadows here because I did put on some brighter lighting so you could see the foil that we have on this card here. And you can see that foil. And then this actually is a technique where we use distress inks to emboss. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. This is actually a stamp. This video is actually going to be for the Tupelo Designs LLC design team. I am a member of the design team. They send me products every month, and I'm going to show you how I would use those products. The nice thing about it is that it's not just products that are just sent that I have to kind of figure out what I'm going to do with them. I actually choose the products. So since I'm able to choose the products, I can show you exactly the products that I would use and the products that I would purchase every day anyway. So we're going to get started on this card, and the first thing that we'll need is I'm going to show you the different things that we'll need for the actual card construction. So let's go ahead and set this to the side up here, and the first thing that we're going to need are the pieces for the card, of course. So this first piece, let's get these out of the way so we don't have any confusion. The first piece is the card base. This was actually a 5x7 card base originally, and now I have cut it down and cut off the 2 inches from the side, and now it's just a 5x5 card base. I do this all the time whenever those cards go on sale or the card bases go on sale, because I can obviously just cut them down to whatever size of card that I would like. So that's our card base. Then next we're going to need a mat for on top of that, and the mat we're going to cut is going to be about a 1/4 of an inch less, or this might be like 1/8 of an inch less than what your actual card base is. So you'll just cut that down to whatever dimensions that you would like, and I actually cut 3 of them just in case we have any mistakes with our distress ink. And then we have here what we're going to fit our stamp on. Now these stamps are sold at TupeloDesignsLLC.com, but they're sold in kind of a different configuration. These ones that I got are kind of one from each of those configurations, but I'm going to be using today one of the birthday stamps, and I will link below the different stamps. They're called Blueprint Minis, and they have many varieties on the site, and I will actually link to those below, and I'll link to everything actually that you can purchase from Tupelo Designs that I use today below. So this is the stamp, so we're going to make sure that this little block will fit, the stamp will fit on top of the block, and that will fit perfectly. And I'm using craft paper today because, I mean, I just love craft paper, and that's great for the foiling technique that we're going to use. And then, of course, one that's about 1/8 of an inch matte black for underneath. And I should say very quickly, over here, you can kind of see here, I have a laminator. This was a dirt cheap laminator. I can't really put it into the focus because I don't want to move the cord, but this was a dirt cheap laminator. I believe that this laminator was like $10, and you will need a laminator for this technique. You can get them for so cheap, and this one again I got for like $10. You want to make sure that if you have that laminator that you actually warm it up before you get started. So that's warming up now. And then you're going to need 2 little strips of darker paper, or whatever color paper that you're using for your mats for the background. So now we're going to go ahead and we will get started. Those are the materials that we need just for to get started, and then everything else will be a variable of what you would like to do with your card. So first and foremost, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I'm going to stamp this this piece right here. And what we'll do is we're going to use, now you can use Versamark, you can use any type of embossing ink that you like. I'm going to actually use the Ranger Perfect Medium, and that is what is inside of those perfect, I believe they're called the, I think they're the Perfect pens or the Perfect markers that I've used before in videos. It's the exact same solution that's inside of there. So, or the exact same formula. So we're going to set these to the side. I'm going to grab my my little stamp block here. Again, remember I said in my last video, I'm not using this stamp block anymore because it drove me crazy. So we have a nice thick stamp block here now that we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick this on to my stamp block. It is a clear stamp block, and a clear stamp. Obviously it's a clear stamp block. And I'm just going to go ahead and take our perfect medium, and I'm going to pat that down all around onto our stamp here. Then we're going to take the stamp and I'm going to center it over top of my square here, and we're just going to stamp down. Now this stamp of course has already been conditioned, and I've told you in a couple of other videos how I condition my stamps, and that's just by stamping them out first. And then you can probably see there, it might be a little bit difficult because it is now kind of like a watermark, but you can see that that stamp did stamp on there for us. And I'm going to just set this aside. I'm not going to clean it right now. I know that I always clean them in my videos, but I'm not sure where my cleaning stamp pad cleaner thing is right now. So we're just going to set that to the side. And then what we'll do here, now the trick to get this foil to work on here is we're going to use a clear embossing powder. Now you can use whatever type of embossing powder you would like. I actually learned this technique from Jennifer McGuire. I watch her videos religiously. I love her techniques. So we're going to take an embossing powder. This is how I store my embossing powders. We'll do a video on this one day. And this is my clear embossing powder. Now, once you emboss this, there is something that I do want to kind of mention to you while I'm working here. If you want a clean image once you foil, you can go ahead and get a detailed embossing powder. This is not a detailed embossing powder. This is just a regular, everyday, clear embossing powder. I believe it's actually from Whisper is the brand. So if you want it to be a super detailed image with the foil, you can go ahead and get a fine detail powder. For this project and for most projects that I do, I don't need for it to be super detailed, simply because I really honestly like the kind of distorted look of it. Now on Jennifer McGuire's video, she used a detail powder and it made everything super detailed whenever she foiled. Now here, as you can see, this cupcake is not super detailed in comparison to, this is what the cupcake actually looks like here, and this is not obviously super detailed in comparison to that. Now what you can do, and I just thought of this while I was doing this, is take this same stamp and stamp over top of this with maybe some stays on. That would work really well, and then you'll be able to see it will stick onto the foil, but that's another video for another day. So I'll get off on a tangent. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just take our heat gun and we're going to heat set this very quickly. Make sure, of course, that our heat gun is heated up before we take it to the paper, so the paper will warp less. Okay, now that's all we'll need for our heat gun right now, and you can see now the present has shown up quite a bit more, and it is a pretty fine embossing at this point. Now, you could keep it just like this if you would like and make a very simple card, but of course we're going to take it one step further. So now what I want to do is I want to use this super awesome stencil that I got from Tupelo Designs. I love this stencil. It reminds me so much of the Brutus Monroe background for the stamps, so I had to have it the minute that I saw it, and it's called Raise. And again, I will link this below. So what we're going to do is we're going to put down a piece of scratch paper. I usually like to use the Ranger. It's like a mat. It's a non-stick mat, but I don't know where mine is right now. I'm trying to clean everything out in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this down, and then I'm going to place my stencil down. Now this is like a half stencil, about halfway onto, I'm assuming normally it should be used this way, but I want to do it half and half. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on half of my little card base here. Then I'm going to take some Post-it tape, my favorite for these kind of projects, and I want to go ahead and tape down this side here. I did not do this taping down on my original, and what I found was that I went over a little bit on this stencil, because as you can see, there's a very fine, right here is where it ends, the stencil, so there's a very fine area of where you can actually kind of go over onto your your other side of your paper here. So now what I want to do is I want to use some distress ink. These distress inks actually are, again, all from Tupelo Designs. I got the inks as well as the cases from them. I love distress inks, and I love this technique. I'm sure that this technique has been done probably a million times before with the embossing, but I just really liked it because I kind of tried it out. I've never seen it before, and if it is somewhere out there, that's awesome. I'm glad that kind of the same idea was there, but it is to take this distress ink, which is water-based, and kind of, well, I'll show you. So first what we're going to do is we're going to take our Seedless Preserves, that's the name of this one, and we're going to take our little tool, this is from Tim Holtz as well, Ranger, and we're going to patch onto our ink, and we'll get some ink on there. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly bring this ink onto our stencil. Now, this ink obviously is formulated to work with the stencil as well as to work with the kind of blending that happens on here. And I'm going to show you kind of how that all happens. So I'm going to take, this is again whichever colors that you would like. I'm going to take a lighter shade, and then I'm also going to take a darker shade, and I'm going to blend in the darker shade. So here's our lighter shade, and I'm going to take this off of here. And whenever you're working with distress inks, your fingers are just going to get messy. There's no ifs, ands, or ways about it. And then this is actually a brand new ink that I have not used yet. So on the first card, I used like blues and teals. So this one, I do want to actually use the purples. With the first cards, usually it's kind of just really an example because I'm really just figuring out how everything's going to work. And with the first card, of course, it was kind of, okay, is this going to work with the embossing powder? Is this going to work with the different colors and with the stencil? So now we're just using, again, just a darker shade, and we want to get darkest out here on the edges. So we'll want to go back in once we have that all on there, and we'll get darker out on the edges. And what you'll see now, let's take this guy off as well. When I take the stencil off, is you will see how awesome that gradation is there. I mean, how cool is that? So now we're going to take our stencil. Going to be very careful because we don't want to smudge that ink. And all we're going to do is we're going to flip it over here. So I'm going to flip it over to this side, just like so. And I'm going to tape over top of the ink that we've already done. Now this will not disturb the ink. I've already tried this, and because I just wanted to make sure. You just don't want to try not to smudge the ink, obviously, that you already have on there, because this does have a longer drying time simply because it is a water-based and it does react with water. So let's go ahead now, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and then we will be right back. All right, and we're back, and it might look like a little bit of a different camera angle because the camera did stop recording. So now we are on part 2, but that was perfect. When the camera stopped recording, I was able to clean off my stencil as well as clean off the stamp and everything like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take very carefully our finished distressed background, and let's flip this over because we don't want this to stick all over everything. And let's take that same clear embossing powder. Now you want to make sure that you do this while the image is obviously still wet. And with distress inks, you do have obviously more time to go ahead and cover this. So we're just going to cover it very liberally, and of course this is all, we're not wasting any of this because we'll pour it all back into our container. So let's go ahead, whoops, and brush all of this off, and you'll see that it sticks to the distress ink very, very well. So let's just do another little coating over top of here because I just flicked most of it off, unfortunately. And just want to tap gently to get some of that off of there, but it is, you know, you can see it's all stuck to some different areas there, and you can brush off some. It's not going to make a difference if there's a little bit extra on here because it is a distressed looking card. So now we're going to go ahead and pour this back into our container. And now we do not need our scrap paper anymore, so we'll put that to the side. Let's go ahead and put this away into our embossing powders here. Put that away, and let me just brush off my surface a little bit. I don't know if this is the same for you, but it drives me crazy when I have embossing powder on my surface and I'm trying to work. So now let's grab the heat gun one more time, and we'll go ahead and emboss this. And I want you to watch because it does something very, very cool. Okay, and what happens here and what I discovered is you can see obviously it just looks embossed at this point, but when I turn it a little bit, it seems like the distress ink, the water in the distress ink evaporates. And while it's evaporating while this is melting, and what happens is you get like these little neat bubbly kind of distressed looking things. But I mean I love the way that the technique turns out. So now we're done with this part. We're done with everything else. Actually, let's go ahead and do our sentiment real quick so we can be done with all the embossing powder and everything. Now, what I'm using for my sentiment is the brand new Happy Birthday set from Brutus Monroe. It has a little, of course, balloon animal and then the Happy Birthday to You sentiment. Now, when you get this stamp, it has the sentiment and the horse connected. Do not be afraid to cut those apart. You could cut them apart. I did not cut them apart because I wanted to keep the same size on both, and it would not have been able to fit on this size of a stamp if I did through my manufacturer. So you can just cut that off, and that's what I did here in this one. You can see the Happy Birthday to You is now separate from the horse. So let's go ahead and we will take this sentiment. Let me go ahead and use this little stamp block here. One moment, I need to put this back. This happens to me all the time. If I don't put them away, I will not be able to find them, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, where are those stamps that I absolutely loved? So we're going to go ahead and we are going to stamp this onto our little piece of paper here that we cut. This is, I think, honestly, like maybe 1/4 of an inch. It's going to be, again, measured based upon whatever you're using for the sentiment. And for this sentiment, this is a shorter, smaller sentiment. So I'm going to actually use this smaller piece of paper. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but I do need to get on top of it so I can see. And now I'm just going to stamp that down very simply and easily. And that sentiment is on there. So let's put these things to the side again. Let's get out our embossing paper. And I'm sorry this is a little bit of a longer video, but there's lots of techniques in this video, and I don't like to cut that out. So now let's use some, let's see, maybe a dark purple. No, let's use, I mean, this is really built, you know, finish your own story. So let's use some gold. I mean, why not? We can use whatever we want when we're doing our own project, and I kind of think that will look neat with that. So I did not use my anti-static bag. Unfortunately, I forget to do that all the time. There's going to be some day when I invent or think of a way for us to figure out how to remember to do that anti-static bag. I'm sure that all of you forget probably a lot as well. I forget constantly. I wish that there was some sort of paper or something out there that is embossing, already made for embossing and already had the anti-static powder on it. I mean, I'll think of something. It's because it happens to me all the time. So now I'm just going to go ahead and very quickly heat set this. And there's our Happy Birthday to You that will go to the bottom of the card. So let's set that aside and let it dry. And now for the fun part, the laminator. So first, what you're going to need to get yourself is some of this art it's actually not Art Deco, it's Deco foil. And you can see here, this is in a purple, which I wanted to use for the purple background. So what you'll do is you'll pop this out. And there's many other foils that are out on the market that will work this way. The Deco foil just works very well for me. And as you can see, I've already used a little square of it. And what you'll do is you'll want to cut out at a little bit larger than your stamped image. So we'll just put this back in. You actually get a lot of bang for your buck here. This one was actually on sale for $2.39, and it's only one sheet in this one. There are some that are sold with one sheet. There are some that are sold with there's like 5 sheets in them. It really just depends on where you purchase it from and how many sheets they carry in theirs. So we're gonna go ahead and put that away, put the cap back on, and let's put this aside here. Whoops. Put this aside, and what you'll do, let's get our laminator over here. We don't need any of these supplies anymore, so let's put them under here on the shelf. Now, now what we'll need is, let's grab our laminator. Let's put all these pieces to the side, grab our laminator, and the way that Jennifer McGuire taught is that you actually do not need a cover sheet to put this through. You can use a cover sheet if you want. Of course, it is at your own risk with your laminator, and obviously this is not what a laminator is made for, but essentially what's happening is this embossing is going to get melted, and then that will adhere to this. So I'm not going to use a carrier sheet. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to feed this through, and this may make you a nervous wreck, but again, I've already tried it. It feeds through perfectly. There are no problems that I've seen with it, but if it does make you nervous, of course, you can try, other options. And then what will happen is this will just come out of the bottom of our laminator here. We can grab it, and then we just want to let it cool for a moment. And let's go ahead and set our laminator off to the side. Now you can, and she actually put hers through twice, but it really depends on, what kind of, what you want it to look like at the end, I guess. So I only put mine through once, and let's peel this off. And as you can see, there's our present. And you can do this so many different ways. Again, I did not use a detailed embossing powder, so it's kind of like an abstract looking gift, but obviously I can tell that it's a gift, and I'm sure that, most people will be able to tell that it's a gift, or whoever's receiving this. But you can do this if you use the fine detail powder, or you use a more detailed or a less detailed stamp. You can get much more detailed results from this. I just really like the way that these look, and here's the other one, how they're kind of like an abstract kind of looking thing. I just think that's so neat, and it lends to obviously his design. So now let's just put the card together real quick. So we'll take this foil piece here, and we are going to, and I'm sure that your minds are racing right now as to what you can use with this technique with the stamps, because as soon as I saw her video, my mind was going 85 miles an hour as to what I was going to use that technique for, and I could not wait to create a card with it. So there's our matted present there, and we don't need these 2 pieces. Remember, those were extras for just in case. And now we'll take this, we'll take our background that we created, and we're going to add some ATG onto the back of that. And there we go. So very simple. We're just basically building a card now. And let's put this so that it is centered onto our card base here. And I always try to make sure that this is centered. I know that we're crafting and things don't have to be perfect, but it drives me crazy when I watch a video. They're like, and now we'll get it right in the center, and it's not set. It's not even close to being centered. So now we'll just place this little present in the center here. And with this one, I think I'm going to do something a little bit different. On the other one, I put the happy birthday in like a short kind of a, let's get this on here now real quick before I start gabbing and I'm not paying attention. Okay, so now with this, I think that I'm going to just do it straight across this time, as opposed to just a little piece. So let's do this straight across here. And again, with some of your smaller, finer stamps, you will want to use a detailed embossing powder. I'm not using detailed embossing powders today because, again, I like the grungy, kind of funky look of it all. But if you want your stamping to be super fine and super detailed, you can get a detailed embossing powder. It's completely up to you. Again, like I said, that's not something that's necessary for me because I like the kind of grungy, oh, I don't want to take that off the camera, the grungy kind of look, and that doesn't bother me. So let's go ahead and we'll cut off these two sides here. And with this, I just am lining my scissor up to that paper and taking it up, and then the scissor will cut it right at about where that paper ends. You can cut it all the way off if you want. I like that it's a little bit off the sides there. Again, it's completely up to your personal preference. So now we're all done, and we have two finished birthday cards that I love. This one has obviously the purple down here, and this one has the gold, and then we have the purple foil on both. Again, you can do this however you would like. I really like the way that this foil looks. I think it's so cool, and I like the way that this is kind of, you know, has the distressed look of the stamps. And again, it's completely up to you. What I would probably do, again, like I said, is I would use that StazOn ink and maybe go over top of this. My StazOn ink, unfortunately, is not within arm's reach, or else I would try that with you. But I really like that this is an abstract-y looking kind of stamp. But again, with that StazOn, you would be able to get a little bit more of a finer detailed if that's what you like. But I really like the distressed look of these, and I really like that they're just a quick and easy card that you can give. And what I would do is I would stamp out a whole bunch of these and have your foil embellishments ready, and then they're just ready to go whenever you're ready to put them onto a card. And now we have two cards ready to go. I thank you so much for watching this video. Of course, go ahead and check out Tupelo Designs, LLC. There'll be a link below with all of the different products that I've used today, as well as a link below for you to go ahead and take a look at their store. I thank you so much for watching again, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.